Here's a cinematic-style story, about 2,000 words, written as if it's narrated in a video. I've kept the flow emotional, dramatic, and with a strong hook at the start and a closing that feels like a powerful YouTube outro. Story. Welcome to my channel. She saved 180 passengers until her call sign made the F-22 pilots stand at attention. That's not just a headline. It's a story that will stay with you long after this video ends. Picture this. A commercial flight, ordinary, routine. Families returning home, business travelers checking emails, children asleep against their parents' shoulders. The air outside is calm, the sky painted in the soft hues of twilight. But 35,000 feet above the earth, where safety depends on precision and trust, a quiet storm is about to unfold. The captain, seasoned but weary, had just excused himself to the restroom when disaster struck. The co-pilot, younger, eager but still untested, noticed the first flicker of warning lights. A sudden jolt rattled the cabin. The oxygen masks didn't drop, but the plane shuddered in a way no passenger could ignore. Gasps spread through the aisles. Flight attendants steadied themselves, their smiles masking fear. "Engine 2 flameout," the co-pilot shouted into the radio, his voice cracking with panic. Within seconds, the situation worsened. They weren't just losing thrust. Hydraulic pressure began to bleed. Controls stiffened, alarms wailed. A chain reaction mechanical, unforgiving. A commercial jet, with 180 lives on board, was becoming a drifting coffin. And that's when she appeared. Her voice came through the headset like steel wrapped in silk. Calm, composed, unshaken by chaos. "This is call sign Valkyrie. I have the aircraft." At first, the co-pilot froze. Who was this? There wasn't supposed to be anyone else on the flight deck frequency. But the system had automatically patched through the relief pilot, the one assigned as an additional crew member, resting in the crew quarters just moments before. She slid into the captain's seat with the quiet authority of someone who didn't ask for permission because she didn't need it. "Engage crossfeed. We'll stabilize the pressure. You keep your hands steady. I'll fly." The co-pilot obeyed, grateful. Passengers, unaware of the full danger, gripped armrests as the plane dropped several hundred feet in an instant. The intercom stayed silent, because how do you tell 180 souls that the ground is rushing up faster than it should? But in the cockpit, something shifted. The moment Valkyrie touched the controls, the chaos bent to her will. Her hands moved like water, fluid but deliberate, every adjustment measured to the fraction of an inch. She coaxed the aircraft instead of forcing it, easing the wounded bird into a glide that bought them precious time. Time they desperately needed, but the storm wasn't over. Unbeknownst to the passengers, their trajectory had veered off course straight into restricted airspace. Within minutes, 2 F-22 Raptors were airborne, their afterburners tearing through the night sky. Pilots locked on, prepared for the worst. To them, this wasn't just a distressed aircraft, it was a potential threat heading toward one of the most sensitive zones in the country. Back in the cabin, mothers whispered prayers, fathers held trembling hands. A little girl asked her mother why the stars outside looked like they were moving faster. The mother, eyes wet with tears, only pulled her closer. And in the cockpit, Valkyrie kept her voice steady. She was wrestling physics itself, fighting drag and gravity with a machine that didn't want to listen. But she refused to break. Finally, through the static, the F-22 pilots' voices cut in. "Unidentified aircraft, you are entering restricted airspace. State your intentions." The co-pilot stammered, reaching for the radio. But Valkyrie placed a hand on his arm, her gaze unshakable. She pressed the transmitter and spoke just 5 words. "This is Valkyrie. Stand down." Silence. A silence so deep it seemed even the alarms in the cockpit hesitated. Then, unbelievably, the 2 fighter jets eased back, breaking formation. Their wings dipped in salute. Because they knew that call sign. Every pilot did. Valkyrie wasn't just a relief officer. She wasn't just another pilot. She was a legend. The first woman to ever pull 9 gigaseconds in simulated combat and remain conscious. The one who had saved an entire squadron years ago when comms went dark over the desert. The one who had walked away from the Air Force, carrying secrets and scars that few could imagine. And now, here she was quietly serving as a commercial pilot, hiding in plain sight. Until destiny called her back. The co-pilot's eyes widened as realization sank in. "You're not now." She cut him off, eyes fixed on the failing instruments. "Focus." The runway was still miles away, the aircraft losing altitude faster than charts allowed. But Valkyrie didn't blink. Her voice became a lifeline, guiding not just the young co-pilot but the passengers too, even if they couldn't hear her directly. Every movement she made bought them another second of survival. In the cabin, a father squeezed his daughter's hand as if by instinct. A young soldier, returning home from deployment, silently mouthed the creed he'd memorized in boot camp. A grandmother closed her eyes and whispered the name of her late husband. Time had slowed for all of them. And at the center of it all, Valkyrie. Approach control cleared the runway. Emergency vehicles lined the asphalt, red and white lights painting streaks across the dark. The tower's voice cracked with urgency, but Valkyrie was already ahead, mapping every inch of descent in her mind. "Gear down," she commanded. The wheels groaned, half responsive, one of them refusing to lock. No time to troubleshoot. She adjusted, compensating for asymmetry that could flip the plane on touchdown. The ground raced up. She didn't flinch. "Brace," she whispered, not to the passengers, not to the co-pilot, but to the aircraft itself, as if the wounded bird could hear her. The impact was thunder. The jet screamed as rubber met asphalt, sparks flying from the half-locked gear. The fuselage rattled, emergency vehicles chasing alongside. For a moment, it seemed the plane would tilt, skid, break apart. But Valkyrie held it, with impossible strength. With skill honed in fire and silence, she held it. The aircraft screeched, slowed, finally shuddered to a stop. Silence. And then the sound of sobs, of laughter, of prayers answered. 180 lives, returned to Earth by one woman's will. The co-pilot ripped off his headset, staring at her in awe. "You saved them. All of them." But Valkyrie only looked out the window, watching the F-22 circle once before disappearing into the night. Her eyes glistened, though her face remained unreadable. "It's never about glory," she said quietly. "It's about bringing them home." When the passengers finally disembarked, some kissed the ground. Others embraced strangers as family. They would never know how close they had come to becoming headlines, to becoming names etched into memory instead of lives continued. But some of them would remember the calm voice on the intercom at the very end, when Valkyrie finally spoke. "This is your relief, Captain. Welcome home." The video ends here, but the story doesn't. Because courage like that doesn't vanish when the engines shut down. It lives on in the little girl who now dreams of flying, in the soldier who will tell his children about the angel who guided them home, in every passenger who walks the earth with a renewed sense of what a single human being can do. And maybe, in you too. If you felt this story, if it stirred something in you, don't let it fade. Share it, carry it, and remember, sometimes, the quietest heroes walk among us, unseen until the moment the world needs them most. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe for more stories that remind us what it means to be human, what it means to be brave, and what it means to come home.